I think the challenge for us is to make sure that we have a smile on our face. We need to radiate joy. If we're like, you want to come to church with me, you're not doing anything else, could you come, You might like it, I don't know. If we're walking around with lone faces and we're encountering people who are discouraged, they're going to look at us and say, whatever you have, I hope it's not contagious. Because I feel terrible enough and I don't need any more.
Hello there everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another video here on Armor of God. And again, I'd like to say thank you so much for your kind support and contribution in any discussion we're having here on this channel. As you know, there are a lot of videos of Father Vincent Lampert here in this channel where he talks about the subject of spiritual warfare, and so I thought for this video, I'd like to make a little compilation of what Father Lampert said about the demons, because one of the things Father Lampert kept on saying in his lectures and interviews, it is so important for people to be well educated about the demonic world and the importance of faith to avoid falling into the devil's traps. Well, let's get on with the video now then. On April 16th of 2023 at around 12 a.m. Jacob woke up to a strange noise outside his room. Trembling with fear, he got out of bed and encountered something that left him extremely afraid. To give you a little background about Jacob, he inherited an old house and a creepy clown doll that both belonged to his grandmother, and the clown doll, known as Jeffrey, scared him, and because of this he kept Jeffrey locked up in a separate room away from him. But then one night, something happened that spooked Jacob out of his mind. It was close to midnight when a loud bang woke him up. He heard a couple more noises before suddenly realizing that the sounds were coming from the room next to his where the clown doll was put. Take a look. As Jacob checked the room where the sounds were coming from, a loud noise is heard from downstairs. He looked nervously down the staircase when suddenly the sound of footsteps going up the stairs was heard. Yet as he looked closely, no one appeared to be there. He then quickly turned around to see the door opening, slowly showing Jeffrey, whose head is now in a different position. Initially seen facing the wall, the clown was now staring at the door. Jacob quickly ended the video here and locked himself in his room until the following morning.
There are items that can be used in a negative sense. So when we talk about demonic infestation, it's not just in a location, but it can be associated with an object. So there are objects that can be used to advance what the devil's trying to do. So you think of voodoo or witchcraft, think of people that use magic wands, think of Ouija boards, voodoo dolls. There's a lot of things that are that can be used in a negative sense. So those things are very much real. Now, if an item has the presence of evil with it, the question I would ask is the object inherently evil? Meaning, obviously, if it's a voodoo doll, it's inherently evil. But it is possible for a regular object, perhaps, to have a curse placed upon it. It may not be inherently evil, but because of the curse placed upon it, it's bringing about the presence of the demonic. And in that case, that object simply could be blessed to return it to its original state, if you will. but something that's inherently evil should always be destroyed. And again, think of things, the Ouija board, a magic wand, tarot cards, again, things like that.
And for the next video, I'll be sharing a short clip of a man named Abel Rodriguez asking Father Lampert what we should do if we believe there's some type of a presence in our home. So what should we do to get rid of this entity, whether it's demonic or restless spirits?
Because she's always sensed that there was something there, and she's not the only one. My other kids, my brother-in-laws, when they've stayed, they've said that they've seen a little boy in here before, and I actually had somebody come over and kind of bless the house. Now I was wondering, like you said, and Elijah were talking about blessing her bed or room. I got some rosaries hanging in there from when I went to my retreat. Now, does that have a significance if we haven't gone to confession, which I just went last week, but if you have sin and you go in, does that count?
I would say that, again, if we've sinned, if you haven't been to confession, but your intention is to go as soon as you can, then I think you're okay. But I do think it's important to be in a state of grace yourself if you're going to go in and offer a prayer of blessing. I will say, if you believe there's some type of presence in your home, then you should have a priest come into your house and offer a very specific exorcism prayer. So there is a very specific prayer that a priest can say in a home that's troubled by evil spirits or a restless spirit, if you will. So if there's a spirit of a little boy or whatever that you said that may be present. So it's not just having the priest come in and say kind of a generic house blessing. You need a very specific blessing because you believe that there's some type of presence or entity in your home. And ultimately, whether it's the demonic entity or the restless spirit, it doesn't need to be there.
All these years were like my son, one time he came home and he asked my mother-in-law lives here, but that he wanted to come and play, that he had a friend that I guess, and she was like, oh, no, she locked the door. She's like, nope. And she got scared. And there was another time when we went to the mall and my brother-in-law was here with his wife, and our son went with us. But she said that she went to the bathroom and there's like 3 doors. The one in the middle is the bathroom, and the 2 on the sides is our room and my daughter's room now. But when they were walking there, she noticed off the side it was a little boy. She thought it was our son Adam standing there. She's like, oh, hi, Adam. And she went into the bathroom. When she came out, she's like, I didn't know Adam was here. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, Adam's not here. Adam took off with us, and he was with us. So that's why I've always said that it's a boy. I've never seen it, but then my wife always says that evil won't hunt evil. That's what she says. But I think I'm the most faithful one here, and my wife too. And I've been trying to get everything I can done to get closer to God. And so I've never noticed anything at any time of the night, day, but everybody else has. So is that something that I should be worried about, or like me, since I've never seen that?
Well, the fact that you haven't seen it, again, if you're strong in your faith, that's probably why you haven't seen it. If they're not as strong, it could be then whatever that entity is. And again, it could be some type of demonic entity that's trying to cultivate some type of relationship with family members. That's why I would ask a priest to come in and to offer an exorcism prayer in the home. And again, there are specific prayers that can be prayed. And if the priest doesn't know what prayer to say, I send that prayer out to all kinds of priests all over the country. So I'm happy to do that. But it's not just a house blessing from the Book of Blessings. It really is a very specific prayer that has to do. And sometimes people, if they're experiencing something in their home, they may do some investigation and try to figure out, is there any type of history in the home? There was a house I went to bless one time in the city of Indianapolis, and actually the whole neighborhood told me that they could see a father and a mother and 3 children, and the kids they knew the names of the children and all of that. It was a new subdivision. And when we did some research, we found out that on that site 100 years ago was an old farmhouse where the family had been murdered. And the people didn't know the history, but they actually knew the names of these entities. It was the family members that were killed in the house. So before even knowing the history, they could tell you the names of the people who died. And then after offering this very specific prayer, there was no longer any presence of these spirits, if you will.
In one of Father Lampert's live streams, he shared a conversation he had with other exorcists where one of the exorcists commented that apparently, at one time, the number one question people searched on Google is how to make a pact with the devil. Let me say it again, how to make a pact with the devil.
How to make a pact with the devil, because somehow the devil is now seen as this kind of chic and charismatic figure who can give us what we want.
Yeah.
But we always have to realize that when you play with the devil, eventually the devil expects to be paid. And how does he want to be paid? It's with our death and destruction. You know, the Bible tells us that Jesus came to give us life, and so that we might have it more abundantly. But the devil wants nothing more than to snuff out the life of the human person. And again, he can present his deceptions as something good. And even when people turn to the devil, you know, try to sell their soul to the devil, initially, maybe they receive a favorable response. But that's nothing more than a trick to try to lure them even deeper into the world of the lies and deception.
The following highlight is rather important for people to know. One thing that is clear is the demons are very legalistic and authoritative, so if somebody gives them an entry point, they're going to take it. But it is important to remember that the demons aren't free just to jump from one person to another. Rather, it works this way. Person can invite the demon in either directly or indirectly.
So directly, in this case, when the woman said, "What's in you, I invite to come into me." Indirectly, when maybe people are dabbling in the occult, again, thinking that something is fun or entertaining, but they don't really understand the gravity of the situation and what they may be getting themselves into. Demons are very legalistic and authoritative. So if somebody gives them, you know, an entry point, they're going to take it. Sometimes, you know, there's a game board, people talk about a Ouija board, for example. People think that can just be fun and entertaining. But again, just because we think something is fun or entertaining doesn't mean that the demon won't use that as a way of saying, no, by playing with this game, you've given me the right to enter into your life. So just because people are ignorant of situations doesn't mean that they're going to be completely free of possibly inviting a demon into their life. That's why it's so important for people to be well educated about the demonic world and the importance of faith.
Did you know that he devil's cleverest ruse is to convince us that he does not exist? I'm sure if you've been following this channel for a while now, you've heard of Father Lampert and other exorcists speaking about this. According to Father Daniel Rehill in another interview, the demons don't want to reveal themselves because they prefer to work from the shadows and lead us away from God to join their eternal damnation. Demons would prefer to afflict people and kind of remain hidden.
But in an exorcism, demons are forced to reveal themselves. They don't want to reveal themselves, but the very things that the church is doing in an exorcism antagonizes the demon so much that it finally lashes out and reveals itself. And then once it reveals itself, the battle against the demon would begin. But again, demons would prefer to afflict people and kind of remain hidden. But the prayer of the church does force them to reveal themselves so that the battle against them can begin.
And now the following highlight is to debunk a rather popular misconception, which is quite widespread among Protestants. Once you've accepted Christ, can you become possessed? If someone has already accepted Jesus Christ, shouldn't Christ be able to protect us from all these things? Well, that is true. But here's another truth that people should know too. We can't say we've accepted Christ and yet still continue to do things that are contrary to the Christian life.
I had a young person reach out to me recently in one of these emails that I get and, said that at the age of 16, he accepted Christ as his Lord and Savior, and then continued to have premarital sex and did drugs and was involved in the occult and playing with Ouija boards and all of this. And he goes, why didn't the fact that I accepted Christ protect me from all these things? You can't accept Christ and continue to do things that are contrary to the Christian life. Sinning would allow the devil to get a foothold in someone's life.
As for the next highlight, I feel it is very good to know, and also a reminder for us all, that we can't pin the blame on the devil for every evil thing in this world. As Father Lampert will point out in this clip, most will be familiar with the phrase, "The devil made me do it." This is like Adam pinning the blame on Eve all over again. According to Father Lampert, the devil doesn't make us do anything. The devil can propose, but he can't impose, because we are all responsible for the actions that we take or the actions that we fail to take that we should. But we shouldn't just think that somehow we're all victims of the devil. So we shouldn't attribute more to the devil than the devil is due.
And we have personal choice. So it is possible that there are people that have some inherent evil about them, and that evil would be the fact that they don't operate or function in what we would say is normal human behavior or activity. We should have some sense of empathy for our fellow human person. There should be a level of love. And you're right, for some people, for whatever reason, that is not at the core of who they are. But I would say that in those cases, we need to make sure that we're not blaming the devil for everything. Many people might be familiar with the statement, well, the devil made me do it. We also have to look at our own personal choices and responsibility. Yes, evil is something real, and evil isn't just something about humanity's inhumane treatment of one another. The church, again, would say that evil is personified in what we call the devil and his angels, but also evil is something that we as humans can make the choice for based on our own free will.
One thing that people must understand by now, and I hope to make it clear here as well as Father Lampert said many times during his lectures, we've heard of people that go to see psychics and mediums to know about their future, to ask about their fates. But is it possible that some people, these psychics, mediums, and fortune tellers, do have a glimpse into the future? Well, the only one who knows the future is God himself, and the devil doesn't know the future. The devil is extremely intelligent with this infused knowledge, and he can use deductive reasoning to kind of watch us, and then he might guess what we might be thinking or how we might act, and then present that as a fact. But only God knows the future.
But it is possible, and I would say the people that you may be referencing are mystics. People who are mystics, God has given them a glimpse into the future. So the question is, where's it coming from?
In the following highlight, Father Lampert made a rather interesting remark. Before I share what Father Lampert said, here's something we have to remember. Just because one believes they're up against the forces of evil doesn't mean that the first thing they should do is try to contact an exorcist. The question would be, what can a person do for themselves immediately? And really the first thing a person should do is go and talk to their parish priest. If they're Catholic, talk to their priest, receive the sacraments of the church, and you can go to confession. Father Gabriel Amorth, the former chief exorcist in Rome, always reminded people that a confession was better than an exorcism. So confessing our sins, placing them in the hands of God so the devil cannot use it against us, perhaps asking for the anointing of the sick receiving Holy Communion. And again, if you believe you're up against the forces of evil, turn to the ordinary aspects of our faith, and as these exorcists will always say, there are prayers that one can say, the deliverance prayers.
I would say that I would never let anybody pray over me unless I knew who that individual was, because you never know that somebody may be a sheep in wolf's clothing, so to speak. They may lead you to believe that they're there to offer you help. I talked recently with a young lady who was said she was at a flea market, and another lady came up to her and said, "Hey, can I pray over you?" And she's like, "Well, sure." But then she realized that the person was not a faith-filled person, but was actually involved in witchcraft. And then she actually believed that by allowing that to happen, that some type of demonic entity was placed upon her. So again, we can pray for ourselves, we can pray for others, but I would make sure that you don't let anybody pray over you if you don't know who they are.
That is all for this time, everybody, and thanks so much for watching this video. My sincerest apology for taking too much of your time, but I sincerely hope that you've learned a lot from this video. There is a lot of wisdom and learning we can get by listening to these experienced exorcists. If there are any feedback or constructive comment, please feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Thank you and God bless you.